Greetings, salutations, how are you? I have completely forgotten what number show this is. I think it's Jerome Bettis, right, Derek?
Yeah, 36.
36. Mm-hmm. Is he number 36?
Yes, I think so.
Can you Google that?
Yeah.
The most famous 36,
right.
the greatest athlete to
Most
wear number
famous
36. I'm going to say that it's
athlete to
Jerome
wear
Bettis. That's a
36.
random number. Totally random
Best
number.
player to wear every jersey number. They list Jerome Bettis as number
Okay.
36. Others of note, wait, hold on. Now I'm down to 26. What happened to this computer? Oh, it's still loading up. Here, okay, here we go. Others of note, Robin Roberts, MLB.
So, since 1938, Jerome Bettis is the only to wear 36. How are you? My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, somewhat charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network. And we're going to get to Pacers, but the shop Indy's loaded us up with Indy 500 t-shirts, and there's a reason for that.
Oh, yeah.
Midway through already, Derek, and yet we still say, people say to me, like, have a great month all month long. And I'm like, we're two-thirds way through.
Yeah.
But the month doesn't really start until this week.
Well, what's cool is that it feels like everything is a week late right now. Normally, like, I'm getting Facebook memories from Fast Friday and from poll days in the past. You know what I mean? Like, we're a week later than normal, it feels like. But I just love it. I love the fact that we kind of, sort of had Pacers and Racers this past weekend, because the Pacers had their game against the Lakers. And, of course, yes, that's a regular season game. Another thing that's late this year, because we should be deep into the NBA playoffs right now. But it feels normal and wonderful and fulfilling, and it feels like Indianapolis is healing post-pandemic. I love it.
It is great. We're going to talk milk on this show today, right?
We are.
Because there's a lot to talk about. But let's begin with, before we get to talking about milk and the Indy 500 and Victory Circle and the IndyCar Grand Prix and everything else, let's talk about the Pacers, Derek, because they are kind of in the playoffs. They're in an interesting situation here, because the left leg's in the playoffs and the right leg's in the lottery. And we're going to see which way they decide to just go ahead and land the dismount permanently.
They got to win twice to get into the actual playoff field is how I would put it. But, yes, they are technically a postseason team.
For those that are unaware, the Pacers currently are what seed?
9.
And they are playing the 10 seed.
Yes, Charlotte.
Which is Charlotte. And the winner of that game plays who?
The 7-8 loser.
And that becomes the
8 seed. So 7-8 plays each other. Winner locked into the 7 seed. Loser of that game. So you have a little bit of a margin for error if you're in the 7-8 game.
So
you
the
can lose.
The 7-8 game is who?
Boston and Washington.
So Boston and Washington, it is possible that Boston and Washington could end up playing each other as a playoff series. Right?
No. Well, I mean, they're playing each other in the play-in game, but they would not play in a series. Well, unless they both advanced all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Let me see. Okay, hold on. So the 7-8 winner, the winner of that game
is the 7 seed.
Okay. Then who is the 8 seed?
The winner of the loser of the 7-8 game versus the winner of the 9-10 game.
Right. So possibly they could rematch
in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes. No, then the 7 would play the 2 and the 8 would play the 1.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I was thinking 7-8 play each other. Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to think of where you were going with that. I'm like, well, I mean, I guess if they're on opposite ends of the bracket.
Yeah, you're right. So
they could play in the conference finals.
I was thinking that the 7-8 play each other. The one,
I feel like that happened. I'm not a hockey guy at all. I feel like that happened in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where you had the 7 play the 8 seed.
Hockey reseeds after each
finals. Yeah. I still, for some reason, I feel like you had that.
After each round of the playoffs.
Which I like. I would rather the NBA do that.
So we're off to a very confusing start.
We are. We can get a lot of this in post.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to do that, I think.
We'll have to flag it.
So the Pacers open up, and they have a game against Charlotte. And then if they were to win that, they would face who?
The loser of Boston, Washington, for the right to be the 8 seed. So the Pacers can't be any higher than the 8 seed. But in order, just kind of Cliff's Notes version, in order for the Pacers to play in a playoff series,
they have to win
They have to win back-to-back games.
Right. Now, if they do not win those 2 games, if they lose either of those 2 games, they win the first one, lose the second, or if they just lose the first one, then they go into the draft lottery.
Yes.
And they would have a very small percentage chance, but yet a chance for the number one pick.
Yes. Something like, I don't even know how it is anymore.
You know,
0.007% or something.
I got to thinking about this. The NBA draft lottery works as follows. You have initially how many teams that are in the lottery?
You have 16 make it, and 16 are in the lottery. Okay. No, 30 NBA teams, 14 in the lottery. Sorry, I was thinking NFL.
So the way that they do it is they have one of these like lottery ping pong ball hoppers. The ping pongs are all flying around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they pull out, okay, the one seed is going to be, here's the one seed. And the team with the worst record, who has the worst record in the NBA this year?
Rockets?
Okay, so let's say it is the Rockets.
Let me look.
So the Rockets have the best odds of landing the number one pick, meaning if they put 1,000 ping pong balls in this hopper and 780 of those ping pong balls have the Rockets logo on them. And then, 200 of them have the Orlando's logo on them. And then 180 of them have the Kings logo on them, depending on.
Yeah, here. So, you want to know? Here's the actual split up of it. They've actually changed it. So the top couple of picks actually have the same combination because they wanted to guard against tanking.
Right.
So technically you have 14, 14, and 14% for 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, but here's my question. So when they select out that team's ping pong ball,
mm-hmm.
do they then have some poor SOB whose job is to go into the hopper and look for everyone? Okay, the Rockets, they're out. And then, there's another Rocket one. I got to get rid of that one. Or they just keep doing it. They keep doing it like 100 times until a non-Rocket comes up and like, thank God.
I know you're thinking of the infamous example of this is 1985 where you'd have the crank and it was the envelopes, right? That's probably what you're thinking. I would hope that technology-wise we just kind of do this digitally where they run it into a computer program and it spits out whatever it spits out, I would think.
And then you just take that
there probably was a time where you did have to do that.
There was a year where they show the ping pong balls.
Yeah.
They show them flying around, and then they pull one, and they pull it. Okay, it's the Hornets.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, that would be like we've been here for 9 hours, and it keeps coming up to the Rockets, and we're just, as soon as it comes up with another team, we're out of here.
So at this point, Jake, I guess
unless the Spurs are in there, and then automatically goes to the Spurs as number one every time.
When looking at the Pacers, I mean, we're talking about if they're the 12, 13, or 14 team, they have a 1.5%, 1%, and 0.5% chance. So we're really not talking about much. Now that they're already in the play-in round, you might as well try, right? You might as well try to win in advance.
But let's just assume let's look already towards the offseason. The Pacers have gotten good play down the stretch from a handful of players. They've been ravished by injury. I think the two big questions for the Pacers, once again, there are three. The first is, do you continue to ride with Nate Bjorkgren? This is a team that if, in fact, they are falling apart at the seams because of their leadership or lack of trust in it, they're playing pretty hard in the last couple of games, right? They don't look like a team that has mailed it in. I mean, I think Bjorkgren has some issue in terms of, it kind of reminds me of like a Josh McDaniels. Like you now find out like his people skills maybe are not the best and he needs to work on that. Does he get another run at it? We'll see. The other questions are Turner, Sabonis. We've talked about this before. Which one do you roll with and which one do you say, let's see what other pieces we can get for him if you're going to trade one of them. And then the other one is the two backs that are free agents, Doug McDermott, TJ McConnell. Probably can only keep one. Which one would it be?
See, I think that there are bigger discussions, too, about, do you see if there's a market for Malcolm Brogdon? TJ Warren is entering a contract year. Now, his trade value is probably pretty low, having not been able to play this year and coming off a big injury.
Okay, let's rephrase this then, Derek. Which players on the Pacers roster are off limits?
None of them. No one. I think you got to listen to everyone. I think we could sit here and argue about who you'd rank. I mean, it's very unlikely, Jake, that Karis LeVert is not an Indiana Pacer in 21-22. That's the only one that I would say that I would be stunned if he was not on the roster next year.
It just feels like the Pacers have rotated through guys that we anticipate are, okay, this is the franchise guy. Mm-hmm. This is they've hit the lottery here. I'll tell you what, I loved Reggie Miller, but, man, this Jermaine O'Neal, this is the franchise. Jermaine O'Neal, after the brawl, but I'll tell you this, Ron Artest, this guy's, Ron Artest wants to be traded, but Danny Granger's a nice player. Danny Granger didn't work out, but this Paul George, he's going to be the guy. And then Paul George, Victor Oladipo, though, here we go. One to the next to the next.
You're
Miles
right.
Turner.
They've basically had 20 straight years of Danny Granger. And Danny Granger, don't get me wrong, is a nice player, not an elite player. I would argue that at his peak, at both of their peaks, Jermaine O'Neal and Paul George were top 12 to 15 NBA players.
Right.
Whereas these other guys, Danny Granger was never on that sort of a level. But you're right. Even LeVert, I'm a little more bullish on LeVert, I think, than some people. But I'm not convinced that LeVert is necessarily like an all-NBA type player.
But he shows that he's pretty good talent.
I think he's capable.
So I agree with you that LeVert is definitely one that you say, because LeVert has been here a short enough amount of time and shown enough that you say, look, we owe it to ourselves to see what we can do here, right? I do think you hold on to Sabonis. I do. I
can argue that. He's been, numbers-wise, they're there, right?
And again, his numbers, Derek, I like what he does. The problem in trying to trade Sabonis is that what he brings to the table, which is excellent, but there are a number of guys that do that. Miles Turner, in terms of his rim protection, part of Miles Turner's – I think Miles Turner has more trade value than Sabonis because he has a skill set that is more unique. But Miles Turner, I know, has been unhappy about being slighted for Defensive Player of the Year because of his blocks and et cetera. And he's very good. Do not get me wrong. But do you remember – I had this conversation yesterday. Do you remember when the Colts had Jason David as their corner?
Yeah.
And he was a pretty good player.
Yeah.
He was an effective cornerback. He got a couple of interceptions.
He was on the Super Bowl team, wasn't he? Wasn't that his last year, 06? With Nick Harper?
I'd have to think about that. That may be right.
Kelvin Hayden maybe
right.
was on that team.
But he went from Indianapolis and then as a free agent signed with the Saints and fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And what we learned was that being a corner for the Indianapolis Colts in the Peyton Manning era was a little bit of fool's gold in terms of the stats because teams knew they had to throw the ball because they knew they were going to be behind. You're behind 2 scores of that Peyton Manning offense. So Jason David's lining up at corner, I know they're going to throw this guy. That makes it a lot easier to defend than not knowing do I go for the run? All I got to do is lock on this guy because they have to throw the football. So you're masked into thinking he's a really good defender when in actuality he's an average one. Miles Turner, who's an above-average rim protector, don't get me wrong, but the Pacers' defense is structured towards allowing guys to funnel into the lane. So they are not great wing defenders. So Miles Turner's block and rim protection is a little bit misleading because it's being funneled right to him anyway. So he does a good job with it, but it's catering right towards, here you go. Get the stats. Here you go. As opposed to a guy who non-organically within the defense comes from across the lane and gets a block. And that's why I think teams are a little bit hesitant with Turner because it is, well, wait a minute, he is a unique rim protector and shot blocker, and he has a skill set that not many people do, but is that partially because the system is doing that for him, not himself?
Yeah, but the counter-argument is that they have that system because he's capable of doing that. You know what I mean?
Point.
Like, I don't disagree on the numbers. Because he's basically cleaning up everybody's mess because, you're being generous when you say that the Pacers don't have wing defenders. They don't have any wing defense at all, period. They can't defend anybody. And so they need to funnel everything towards Turner because they have no choice.
Right.
But, yeah, no, we've kind of talked about this a lot throughout the year about who has more trade value, but I think you just look around and dangle both of them.
2 or 3 weeks ago, you made a comment to me that I dressed down on this show. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. You said you're wearing pajama shirts.
This isn't a pajama shirt. It's a thermal long sleeve.
Well, first off, it's May.
It's comfy. It's chilly outside. We're taping this on Monday, but it's mid-60s and rainy. It's a little chilly.
Is there a shoot for the movie Singles after this?
What are you talking about?
You're not familiar with singles?
It's just casual. No, you're saying like this is like a 90s
It's a very grunge look you're going with.
grunge look?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm very well put together.
Seattle. You look like you live in Seattle.
Okay, I
Do you
don't
have
know
a
what
coffee?
you mean. Can we talk though a little bit about this?
Do you
It's
have a
weird
coffee?
because
Can
this
we get
is
you a
airing.
latte?
I love lattes. This is airing right before the Pacers playoff game, so we actually maneuvered around it because the Pacers and Charlotte tip at 6:30, and I am kind of interested in this game and these two teams because I feel like the rosters are very similar, where you just have a bunch of B players. Like Terry Rozier's a nice player; he's a B player. Gordon Hayward's a nice player; he's a B player. So are Domas Sabonis, Miles Turner, Karis LeVert, Malcolm Brogdon.
When healthy, I think Hayward is an A. I think Sabonis is an A. The problem is Sabonis doesn't guard anybody.
Neither of those guys are top 15 NBA players. I guess you can sort of argue that Sabonis is on the and maybe Hayward too is on the fringe of that discussion, but they're on the fringe of that discussion.
Right.
So when I mean A player, I mean like you're arguing for them. Damian Lillard, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, Luka, Giannis, all those guys who are in the All-NBA argument every year.
Right.
And you don't really have that with those guys, even though those guys have been all-star level players.
LaMelo
Ball might eventually be that level of player. He's had a nice rookie year.
He has. In your opinion, the Pacers need to be blown up, or the Pacers have some minor tweaks that need to be had?
No, in my opinion, as I've said, they need wholesale change. Now, blown up means blow it up. Get rid of everybody. I'm not there.
Would you change the top?
I would. Yes, I would make at least one major trade. But you mean like the brass? No, I'm a Kevin Pritchard. Admittedly, a bit of a homer because I like him a lot.
Okay,
and I think that he's done an admirable job. But that said, I think we said it on the show last week. I don't think anybody is above losing their job, getting traded, getting fired, whatever else. Pritchard, Bjorkgren, the whole roster.
Okay, Doug McDermott, you bring him back?
No.
TJ McConnell.
McConnell is much more valuable, I think.
He is.
McDermott's been fine. When they signed McDermott,
I like McDermott, but
I think what people were saying was, oh, okay, yeah, like he's really going to take off. And I'm thinking to myself, if McDermott, who's also a great dude, we've had him on the show a lot, just a good Midwestern guy. 5 teams wouldn't have given up on him already. You know what I mean? Like he had been he kind of bounced around the league before he came here for 3 years, and I think he's going to have a nice 15-year career. He's kind of a very, very, very poor man's JJ Redick type player.
Right.
And there's always going to be a place for that in the NBA. But McConnell, to me, has been, wouldn't you agree, far more indispensable than Doug McDermott's been.
McConnell's the couple of things about TJ McConnell. When TJ McConnell was first brought here, Derek, he was brought partially because as a mentor for Aaron Holiday, because it was thought that Aaron Holiday would eventually become the number 2 and possibly the starting point guard. And Aaron Holiday, when he was on the floor, kind of felt more comfortable playing off the ball. So they liked having TJ McConnell on the floor to kind of mentor and mold Aaron Holiday and also to kind of support him. Aaron Holiday make a shot, TJ McConnell's the guy, hey, great play. And Holiday felt more comfortable with McConnell leading the offense and kind of showing him how to run the offense. That eventually got to the point where with McConnell it was like, wait a minute, like things happen when he's on the floor.
Yeah.
And with Aaron Holiday, things happened, usually, ironically enough, when the ball was in his hands, but that was it. And McConnell just started getting more and more of those minutes to the point where it was hard to keep him off the floor because good things happen when he was on it.
And if you bring McConnell back, you got to make a decision on Aaron Holiday. If you're, it's got to be one or the other at this point. If Holiday's not ready to be the number 2 point guard, he's got to go. You got to. No, that's it. You got to move on.
You're very shrewd.
Now, if McConnell decides, this is a two-way street here, so McConnell could leave on his own accord, and then Holiday by default becomes your number 2.
You'd have been really good in organized crime.
Well, that was part of a little bit part of my world growing up in suburban Connecticut.
When you were doing Stefan's trading cards, for example.
I've seen every episode of Sopranos, so I do know a little bit about that.
Do you know that there's an episode of The Sopranos where Tony Soprano is watching IndyCar racing?
Really?
IndyCar paid for it.
No, I did not know that.
Market placement.
Yeah.
I've never seen the episode.
Good for them. I'll have to keep an eye on it.
But it's on in the background.
I rewatched the whole thing about 2 years ago, and
the IndyCar series?
No, Sopranos, and I'll probably get that on my rewatch
Never
list
seen it.
again. It's great. You really would like it. If all of those shows, The Wire, and it's very different subject matter, but it just draws you in because you're so the emotional investment you have in the characters in The Wire, it's very similar to what you have in The Sopranos, where you are literally worried episode to episode about their personal safety.
Right.
You know what I mean? You connect with them, and it's weird because you're like, wait, he's doing these horrible things. Bodie, spoiler alert, kills Wallace, and then suddenly at the end of the series, when he gets got, I'm like emotional about it.
When he gets got.
Because he got.
Okay.
I'm just saying. Like, weren't you sad when Bodie died? And originally you're like, wait a minute, this guy, he turned on his best friend?
In The Wire, it is very easy by the end of the series to forget that that's the kid that killed Wallace.
No.
Because he's forced to grow up. They're kids when he kills Wallace. And he's a man, but it's only a year later.
Well, and like McNulty he's a sociopath. I mean, this guy's like the biggest POS. He's a drunk. He's awful. You know how he treats, is it Beatty? The character that's Michael Scott's eventual wife in The Office.
I've never seen The Office.
She's a cop. She's originally a cop, and then they have a relationship, right? And he's like out smoozing all the time, and
he's
by the train tracks with bunk. You know what I mean? Like, he's horrible, but you're like rooting for him.
Yeah,
he's staging murders. He's a terrible guy.
You're right.
But sorry, I didn't mean to side trail that.
The Wire, by the way, The Wire, and I've seen folks at this point. I know I said I haven't seen The Sopranos, and I've seen a few episodes of The Office. The Wire is quite simply the most masterfully put together, greatest television show in the history.
Can I tell just a really quick McConnell story? I used to never go to the Pacers pre-draft workouts, but I went to one in 2015 because Miles Turner and Frank Kaminsky were going to be there. And I thought, there's a very good chance that one of these guys ends up a Pacer. Of course, the rest is history, right? Turner ends up a Pacer. TJ McConnell was there.
Kaminsky, by the way, with Charlotte, right?
Yeah. And then he got, he's just he's barely a guy. You know what? I have to actually look it up.
Houston, maybe?
He's not in Charlotte anymore. I actually have to look. But
I'm going to guess. Let's guess here. Frank Kaminsky. Give me two franchises.
The Kings.
I will say, the Kings is a really good guess. I'm going to go with Houston or New Orleans.
Oh, he's with Phoenix.
Is he really?
I actually did not know that. Sorry.
What's he averaging? I'm going to guess. Frank Kaminsky, as a career or for the season?
Let's do the season first.
For the season, Frank Kaminsky is averaging 4.9 points and 3.8 rebounds per game.
You're very close. 6.5 and 4.
Okay.
For his career, he's a 9.5 point, 4 rebound guy. Yeah, just whatever.
Okay, so anyway, so you went and watched him
TJ
work out.
McConnell was there, and I mean, I remember being like, why is this guy at an NBA workout? Like, what is he? Is he just going to be like the designated rebounder?
They bring their own trainer?
What's he doing here? And, it's this great story of he's basically, if I'm not mistaken, he was a walk-on at Arizona, right?
Well, he began at, I believe, Duquesne, right?
Okay.
And then he began at Duquesne and finished at Arizona. His father was a high school coach.
Okay.
In the East Coast.
Maybe the walk-on thing is embellished, but
he was a transfer. He might have been
an undrafted guy, and just kind of made way originally with the Sixers and worked his way up, and now has become firmly an NBA guard, and a guy that's going to be coveted as a bench piece for somebody, or even maybe a sixth man for some teams.
The guy that Aaron Holiday has not only been surpassed by T.J. McConnell, he might have been surpassed, Derek, this season by Edmund Sumner.
Yeah, Edmund Sumner. I'm glad that they decided to take a real extended look at him because I think you could tell that there was something there. He's still pretty raw, but he was very, very raw when they first kind of brought him in and coming off a major injury at Xavier. But I just think that, it kind of goes back to the drafting. At least it looks like maybe there's something to build on there with Goga, and you want to still wait and see what's there. Like, I'm not willing after 2 years to make a determination on Goga Batadze. Right. I still think that he can be a rotational NBA player, maybe even more than that. But some of these, these other draft picks, TJ Leaf and, Holiday, these low ceiling. Well, Leaf wasn't supposed to be a low ceiling guy. He was a low floor guy. He didn't have a ceiling. He didn't have a house at all. He was, out. But he's living by the trash can.
In talking about with Indiana, if you don't make the playoffs, the benefit of going into the lottery, Derek, they got to get out of the perjury of just drafting 18th to 20th.
It's really hard to find unless you get
we talk about
lucky.
TJ Leaf, And I know it's easy to pick on that, but who would you have taken?
Well, Anunoby is the most obvious
course.
example who's become a really capable
but
player.
Even that
but
was
Collins. I mean, there were a couple of guys in that
There
draft.
are, but there are plenty of teams that also
you're
swung him. You know what I mean?
The late teens, early 20s is full of guys that are Frank Kaminsky's, basically,
Right.
if they're even in the league for 5-6 years. Some of them are out of the league by then.
Give me a number off the top of your head from 13 to 30.
21.
21. Give me a year off the top of your head in the last 15.
2010.
Okay, let's look up who was the 21st pick of the 2010 draft. The 21st pick of the 2010 draft. This is always good.
We used to say good radio. This is good TV-ing.
This is fun.
We're looking up.
We'll see if it's
like this.
how legit a player it is. The 2010 draft. I'm trying to think of who would have been around then.
21st player. Oh,
probably some off guard from Michigan State.
I know. The only reason I've heard of this person is because I thought they were going to make a deep tourney run. And I'm trying to think of who else was on this team. But Craig Brackens, who played at Iowa State, was the 21st pick. A bigger dude, like a forward. He played 17 total NBA games and averaged 1.8 points per game.
And who is he taking immediately following?
He's still playing overseas with the Kashigawa Alphas.
They're pretty good,
in the second division of the Japanese B League.
So how are they the alphas? What are they the alphas of? They're the alphas of the betas. We're in the beta league, but we're the alphas.
He has 2 American teammates, Charles Hinkle, of course, the namesake of Hinkle Fieldhouse.
That's right. I went to school with Mike Hinkle and Charles Hill were the 2 great defensive linemen at North Central High School.
My browser just crashed.
That's a shock.
Sorry. You want to know the draft picks around him?
Who would immediately before and immediately after him?
Immediately before Craig Brackens was Avery Bradley. No, wait. Avery Bradley was 19, who ended up being a nice player.
Okay.
James Anderson, who was okay for a little bit, I think, in San Antonio.
Okay.
I don't think. Not still in the league. Last season he played was 2016 with the Kings. He's now playing for Anadolu Etis, which is a Turkish professional basketball
the alpha
team,
of the Turkish league. Okay,
based, of course, in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
And wait, hold on, I crashed again.
Constantinople.
I need
for those
to restart
home.
this because this is giving me some problems.
Yeah, what
NBA
are we doing
draft.
Here? We get the milk folks showing up. Let's go.
I know, yeah. We ran long last week, so I feel bad for Jordan that we have to put him through this again. 2010 NBA draft, right after Craig Brackens was Elliot Williams from Memphis, who was also out of the league after 2016.
Elliot, I kid you not. As soon as you said Elliot Williams, I'm like, that has to be from Memphis, right? Hasn't Memphis had like
NBA
17 players named Elliot? That
G League Finals MVP in 2015.
Cool. For who?
And a 2-time All-Star. He was the
Bakersfield, the Bakersfield stuff?
MVP for the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Yep. Golden State's affiliation.
But you're right, man. I mean, that's kind of who you're picking through normally when you're picking.
A lot still to get to today. That includes our Love Heating and Cooling or Love Heating and Air Conditioning, Love-HVAC. Love That Play, our Winners Drink Milk winner of the week. And we're also going, and of course, the Shop Biter Bull Schultz. Lots of people to mention that have been helping us out, including the American Dairy Association, because, Derek, we're going to talk milk as well, right?
Yeah, Jill Huian and Tim Haynes, our friends, are going to be the milk presenters this year for American Dairy Association Indiana, and we are going to do a Zoom call with them coming up later on in the show, and into our Winners Drink Milk winner of the week, so it'll be perfect.
Okay, Sounds good.
Got a ton to get to. It's Corey and Schultz. Stick around. ISC Sports Network.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back. It's Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Derek Schultz. Jay Query, unfortunately, is here as well. Fortunately, though, our sponsor,
I read a book
Bailey
when I
and
was a kid.
Wood, is
One
here
of
with
my
us,
favorite
too.
children's books was Fortunately.
I've never heard of
Did you
it.
ever read that?
No.
It's about a fellow that parachutes. Fortunately,
Fortunately,
Jim
he had a parachute.
yeah, right.
And it
Fortunately-
worked.
Unfortunately, it didn't open. Fortunately, and it goes
yikes.
back. It's a wonderful
I'm
book.
an expert on children's books, so
Apparently not. You-
Never heard of that one.
Well, if you never heard of Fortunately, then you're not an
He likes
expert.
Dragons Love Tacos is one of his favorites, and Chicka Chicka Boom Boom.
Okay. Chicka
You know-
Chicka Boom Boom?
Yeah.
Is that G-rated?
Oh, yeah. It's about letters that climb up into a coconut tree, and then they all fall out, and you kind of learn the alphabet. So it kills two birds. It's an entertaining book, and you learn all the letters.
Well, if they're up in the alphabet tree and there's dead birds, that's not much of a
no,
twist.
there's no birds
You said birds
up in
are
the
killed.
tree. No. The letters fall out of the tree.
They don't kill a bird?
No.
You
A
sure?
told B and B told C, I'll meet you at the top of the coconut tree.
Okay.
Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, will there be enough room?
Were there partridge pears or whatever up in there?
No, it's not a. It's like May. Christmas is like the furthest thing from my
Okay.
mind right now.
All right.
Bailey & Wood Financial Group, Indiana's hometown mortgage lender. They just hopped aboard with us for this month. And Mike Wood, by the way, congratulations to Mike and his entire family. And Bailey just graduated from IUPUI over this past weekend, his oldest daughter. And it's great. It's all about family with them. Not only, obviously, their actual family, but all of their Indiana branches, 13 of them, in fact, scattered across the entire state, a lot of them located in central Indiana. So Fishers, Noblesville, Whiteland, Franklin, wherever you are, chances are there's a Bailey & Wood Financial Group branch near you.
Market's hot right now, right?
Absolutely. And if you are, and you probably already know this, if you're looking for a house or if you're even thinking about looking for a new home, you have to get pre-approved. And to do that, you got to call Bailey & Wood Financial Group. So you can do that at 855-350-HOME or visit them online at bawfg.com.
Number again, please.
855-350-HOME.
That's easy.
855-350-HOME.
Okay. Now,
Like you ain't getting a home for less than $350 in this market. Home.
yeah, there you go. Okay. And speaking of home,
It sure feels that way, doesn't
speaking
it?
of
It's
home,
crazy.
Derek, we now know that the Colts are going to, in fact, have a home primetime game because the NFL said to them,
Yay!
we've heard you guys complaining about this forever, so we're going to give you the absolute definition of here is a table scrap. Please now leave us alone. You get to host a Thursday night game against the New York Football Jets.
Yeah, full disclosure, I know that this release, when was this release? Wednesday? Thursday?
Yeah, last
And we're
week.
taping, it feels like it was 100
When
years
did,
ago.
when did NFL releases become like this big thing of we got to do this wacky video?
The last
and-
7 or 8 years is when it's really become this big thing. But it's frustrating, Jake, because they've got 4 primetime games, which is great. They only had 1 last year. But 3 of them are still on the road. Like, the Colts are playing. I know that people, if you're familiar with this show, you know that I whine and complain about a lot of things. This is legit. The Colts have the fewest amount of home primetime games in the entire league since 2011. And in the last 15 years, so dating back to the 2007 season, the Colts will have played 21 of 25 Thursday or Monday night games away from Indianapolis. 21 of 25. It's 80 whatever percent.
And by the way, I remember last year or a couple of years ago, we were talking about this. This is not, contrary to popular belief, this is not because of hotel space or convention confliction.
Green Bay, Wisconsin has home primetime games in Jacksonville, Florida all the time.
Or no, but there's also people say, well, it's because Lucas Oil Stadium is being rented out for conventions, and that's not the case.
No, it's not true. And Irsay's been upset about it and has been vocal, especially when they had the 3 straight primetime games. I think in 2019, he actually publicly complained about that.
Did you see? I was unaware of this. Apparently, it's a thing. people were excited that the Jets will be coming here because the new Jets quarterback is Zach Wilson, right?
Yep.
Have you seen his mother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, have you seen Zach Wilson?
Yeah, he's good.
I mean,
kid.
I'm comfortable saying that he is a
Very
very
good-looking
handsome person.
He is.
You know what I mean? He looks like an Instagram, influencer or something. That
Yeah.
would be
So
like a
does his
dude
mom.
selling, dress socks.
Yeah, he's a nice-looking kid.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised at all that his mom is.
I'd like to see him do well.
attractive,
He
too.
seems like he seems
Yeah.
like a pretty exciting player.
I think we mentioned it on last week's show. The first time I've ever felt old watching the NFL draft was watching them line up because Zach Wilson looked like he was getting ready for prom. And I'm like, wait a minute, that dude is going to the NFL?
Yeah.
And, you're already old, so you're kind of used
Well,
to that.
we're getting into, Derek, think about this. If we haven't already, we are entering into, like this summer, I'm assuming, an NBA draft where the majority of players taken in the top 10 picks probably were not alive on 9/11.
Yeah. And every one of them born in the 21st century,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
Pretty much.
I don't know. I guess you could have a 22-year-old.
probably
that was born in
European, maybe,
99,
right?
Yeah. But or a 4-year college senior, something
Right.
like that. But yeah, you're right. But looking at the schedule, I think the first couple of weeks are going to tell us a lot about the team, which I'm excited about. I'm actually worried about that for the Colts. But first 6 weeks, Seattle, Rams, at Titans, at Miami, at Ravens, all of those teams were double-digit win teams last year, and 5 of them were playoff teams. The only reason the Dolphins didn't get in is because there was that logjam at the back of the AFC.
Right.
So I think, not to say that all of those teams are going to sustain that same level of success, but I think we know that, Baltimore and Seattle especially,
The Dolphins,
assuming the Wilson situation
Derek,
is okay.
If I'm not mistaken, the Dolphins not getting in is the reason the Colts did, right?
Yeah. They were fighting for that last spot.
Right. Had they won in the final week, the Colts were out.
The Dolphins getting absolutely ragdolled by Buffalo was the
Ragdolled.
reason that kicked open the door for the Colts. They were down like 38-0, I think, in that game.
Right.
It was crazy. The
Ragdolled.
middle of the schedule looks softer, but then you've got some interesting games. You got Tampa Bay, so Tom Brady coming back to Lucas Oil Stadium for the first time in a long time. I don't know. Does the Patriots game still matter? Belichick's there. That's also a home game. So it's an interesting schedule.
Who's going to be quarterbacking the Patriots?
It's
in that
still
game?
weird for me to think that it's like, Colts might go 11-6 this year. What?
Right.
Oh, I think this is a 10-7 football team. Huh?
Well, the fact that you're adding up to 17 alone makes it sound weird.
Yeah, it's stupid. Yeah, I don't know. I think by that point you would have turned it over to Mac Jones because we're talking December for the New England game or very late November. I'm just looking at a list of the teams and it's in the fourth portion of the season.
Did you see the stat in terms of bye weeks?
No.
The Super Bowl champion starting it was 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The Super Bowl champion was a team who had their bye week in week 7. And then the following year, the Super Bowl champion had their bye week in week 8. The following year, the Super Bowl champion had their bye week in week 9. This has gone all the way up now through 13. Last year, the Bucs had their bye week, and whatever week the Bucs had their bye week,
Yeah.
it was 13 or 12 or whatever. It goes. The streak started 5 years before
We
that.
can only go so high.
Well, the Colts this year. So the number on the clock is, I think it's either 13. When is the Colts bye week?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it's 14, right?
Yeah, sure.
So the Colts are one of 4 teams with a bye week of 14, and this consecutive number streak, 14 is the number. So if you believe this streak of bye weeks and Super Bowl champion correlation, it's the Colts and 3 other teams.
Whew. We were just talking
Do you
about
want to find the exact stat?
ages of NFL draft or NBA draft prospects. Rinus VK just won the Grand Prix, GMR Grand Prix. Sorry, you're kind of sort of an IndyCar employee, so I want to make sure I get the sponsor.
Global
plug in
medical
there.
response.
Sure, okay. Yeah, you can even go farther than that. You should have made me guess because I would have
know.
had no clue. VK just 20 years old.
He is the youngest driver to win an IndyCar event at the Indianapolis
And the
Motor
6th
Speedway.
youngest any IndyCar event ever.
Right.
You've had a couple of teenagers, Graham Rahal, Marco Andretti, win races. I just kind of off the top of my head here. But now 5 races, you've had 4 winners, 24 or younger. And the only exception is Scott Dixon, and he's Scott freaking Dixon. But this youth movement, Jake, it's serious. And just look at the podium. I mean, Pelot made the podium again, right?
Yep.
So he was P3.
Pelot's very talented. Jack Harvey's also a younger
Pato Award.
guy. Pato
A
Award.
winner. Colton Herta.
Colton Herta. Yeah, there's, I mentioned this before, Derek. 25 years, everything's cyclical, obviously. When you had after the split, a lot of people talk about the split being, the main boulder in the stream for open wheel racing, and I certainly understand that. But also, you had in about a 4-year stretch the retirement of 10 legends. Al Unser, Emerson Fittipaldi, Bobby Rahal, Rick Mears, Ari Leyendyk. Leyendyk went a little bit longer, but Johnny Rutherford, Gordon Johncock, Danny Sullivan, all these guys are retiring within a handful of years of one another. And so people are saying, well, who are these? Who is Tony Kanaan? Who is Scott Dixon? I don't know anything about this Dario Franchitti. You know what I mean? And so it took time. What you had now, fortunately, is a couple of years of kind of getting to know these young drivers now to where all of a sudden it's not like, who are these guys? Because people at least know the name of Colton Herta before now he's winning races. But, Rinus VeeKay, mega talented, Dutch kid. Ari Leyendyk kind of helped bring him over here. His last name is actually I believe it's Kaltmont, but he just went by VK.
We talked to his dad about that, I think, at the rookie luncheon.
And his parents, nice people. Yeah. We met him last year at the fastest rookie luncheon because he was the fastest rookie qualifier. Mega talented guy. And, this is the culmination of what people have seen in him for a while now. He was the Pro Mazda Series champion in 2018. Alex Palou is a guy that last year came on the scene and not a lot was known about him, drove for Dale Coyne, didn't have good results, but you just could see, you're like, I think this guy's pretty darn good. Qualified at Indy well. And I remember Graham Rahal, I asked once, I said, hey, I kind of get the impression, I think Alex Palou's pretty good. And Rahal said, within the racing circles, he's very well thought of. So he's talented, and it has a good ride. And then you have Felix Rosenquist, who's won at every level there is, and he's won a race and is a young guy with arrows. So there's a lot of young talent. I think people are excited by it, and it bodes well for at least now when you're going to have another run here. Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, Juan Montoya, these guys aren't going to race forever, so you need young stars. So congratulations to Rinus VeeKay in getting that win.
Did it feel special for you to be back out there and have some sort of sense of I know you're not really like that. You're like that a lot more with IMS than you are with the other IndyCar events.
No, it was cool. It was a big crowd. And I will say, Derek, driving in on Saturday and coming down Georgetown, and I saw people parking cars in their front yard, and people, I need tickets, and there were people along Georgetown Road, and then we went to dinner Friday night on Main Street. I went to Big Woods. It was
perfect weather.
It was. Yeah. It was cool. I mean, it definitely was like, man, I can see it now. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to be okay. There was a question there for a while. It was like, man, is this thing going to shut everything down forever? And it was pretty cool that we're going to be okay.
40,000?
I don't know about that.
Not that aggressive?
I'm in turn 2 of the oval, so I'm looking across where everybody is, but they're not where I am. I would say 20 to 25 probably. It's hard to say, but the turn 4 of the oval looked pretty good, and then turn 1 of the oval into the South Short Chute looked pretty good. I couldn't see the main straight.
Did they let people in the infield?
No.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. You could go into Pagoda Plaza.
Okay.
But you couldn't walk. When I walked out to turn 2, I started to walk, and they stopped me and you cannot walk through here. You have to be on a golf cart. So they weren't letting people mingle in the infield.
Because the mounds are normally the best place to watch the road course,
Correct.
Right? And if those were shut down, that probably would hurt some of the attendance.
So I think you're still going to have one more race here, the 500, under these limited conditions, and then I think next year is going to be massive.
Yeah,
which is cool. Speaking of which, the traditions are the same for May, and you told me that I was so excited because I thought we were going to have guests from the American Dairy Association, and you said that partially due to all of this that you're talking about, it's actually on Zoom. And then and I said, okay, great, we'll bring the laptop in here. And you said, no, I've got to go into the coat closet?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I stayed in the studio because I'm coordinating the meeting.
So I have to go.
Zoom host. So you have to go in there. We've got a laptop set up for you in Rakestraw's office, which is a converted closet.
There's a ladder in there.
Which is weird because he's a very respected sportscaster.
So I've got to go right now. This is like when I was in the hospital in Long Beach and they put me in the coat closet.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Sort of the same thing.
But we're going to do that next?
We're going to separate. I know that's hard for you.
Okay.
It certainly has been hard for you career-wise. So we're going to separate to do this interview with Jill and Tim, the milk presenters in Victory Lane for the Indianapolis 500. And we'll come back with that and also pick our winners of the week coming up later on in the show. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching, barn needs cleaning, tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for joining us. And as you can tell, Jake and I have doubled our participation on this program, which is rare because usually it's just you and me, Jake. But I'm really excited to have our two guests here who are no strangers to this show. In fact, we ended up having them on not only with us from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the old radio show, but also as part of last year's Fastest Rookie Luncheon with American Dairy Association Indiana. And they once again are going to be participating in one of the great traditions, the handing of the ice cold milk in Victory Lane to the winner of the Indianapolis 500. And joining us are Jill Huian of Homestead Dairy in Plymouth and our friend Tim Haynes as well of Superior Dairy in Garrett. Guys, it's great to have you on. How are you?
Thank you so much for having us. I'm so excited. We're getting so close. I can taste it. So excited.
Okay, Jill, I want to parlay off that energy and that excitement because I love it, right? And here is the reality. Take us through this for folks that are not familiar. So this great tradition of handing the bottle of milk to the winning driver in the Indianapolis 500 in Victory Lane, it started with Louis Meyer. We know all of that, but you're kind of, I guess it's a lucky draw here because it basically is a 2-year program. So last year was so unique and it was so, obviously it was just weird, right? So it's perfect that you get another opportunity when we're a little bit more normal and the milk celebration's a little bit more lively, right? Is that a fair statement?
Fair statement. But what was so exciting last year is the winner was still excited to grab that milk out of my hand. And so I had to have that enthusiasm for working so hard as dairy farmers to bring it to the winner who worked so hard to get that milk. It was so overwhelming. But this year I get to train Tim and what really happens in the winner's circle and what happens as the winner grabs the milk and then he gets to hand it to the crew chief and the owner. So that experience is just amazing and overwhelming and humbling and crazy.
Tim, you look like you're ready to do that right now. You got the hat, you got the shirt, you got the mustache, which is race ready right now. This is perfect. Oh, and Jill, you've got the sunglasses. You guys are ready to go.
We're prepared. I was ready to do it last year, and then with everything that happened, they would only let one of us in. So Jill did it all, and so hopefully this year nothing changes between now and then.
So wait a minute, Tim. You got so nervous a year ago. I'm sure I would have been. I mean, nothing against you. I'd have been nervous, right? And then all of a sudden, you're selected. And you're probably practicing in the kitchen, and then boom, you got to wait a whole nother year, man. So is it all built up anticipation or is it built up nerves?
Well, I'm really excited, like Jill says. I mean, to be able to represent the Indiana dairy families and dairy families across the United States. But they do a good job of helping us train for this. And, I was disappointed, but, I watched the race last year, and at the end of the race, I saluted with a glass of milk. And, that was last year. Now we're hopefully back to norm this year. And we can move forward.
Yeah, and anyone who doesn't get to attend the race this year can still celebrate with the winner and hold up a glass of milk as I hand it off. So there's so many different positives that came out of going so virtual that everyone can experience. Winners drink milk, and they can be a winner too.
Yep.
Running a dairy farm for both of you guys, I know I'm in fact, I'm not going to pretend to know the challenges. I just know that there are challenges under normal circumstances. But to kind of get through the past year, Jill, I know up at Homestead Dairy, you guys would have tours and all of that. And of course, the pandemic affected some of that with these limitations and restrictions. Kind of give us a glimpse, starting with you, Jill, of what 2020 and really the last year has been like for you guys as you've navigated these uncertain times like all of us have.
So as dairy farmers and dairy farm families, we've had to continue to work 24/7 to bring nutritious milk to the table and to help with that little hiccup where the milk wasn't on the shelves. We worked twice as hard to make sure we had that help that out. We were donating to food pantries. We were doing so many different things that helped so many different people in our community. And it was a really hard time for everyone. And we continued to work hard as a family to help bring nutritious food to the table. And it's really important that we continue to do that throughout the year.
Wait, Jill, do we have a sleeping calf behind you, or is that a sleeping cow? I thought cows sleep standing up. Am I like totally off base here?
Oh, no, the baby. Well, these are the calves, so they get to sleep whenever they want to. They lay about 13 hours a day. A cow will lay. So
really?
And it helps them.
That's one less than Jake.
That's right. I knew they were my spirit animals. Hey, Jill, let me ask you real quick. I want to go back to something you mentioned. I thought it was fitting a year ago or 9 months ago or whatever it was. So much tradition goes into the Indianapolis 500, which includes, of course, the victorious swig of milk. And to me, there was a relief in having a former winner win that race, because it would have been such a shame to have somebody who was an only winner pull in and no fans. All of that to be said, I do think that we deserve, or rather that Takuma Sato deserves almost another toast of milk for just the way he handled all of it. I thought he was dignified with it. I thought he showed the proper respect, not only to the race, but to the tradition itself. And it was so cool to see a guy who grew up in Japan that totally understands the great traditions of the Indy 500.
Oh, absolutely. He was so humbled to grab that milk. I was humbled to be there. It was just an amazing experience. And I totally respect how hard he worked. And it was new because the platform raised last year. So that excitement of his team around him and knowing that my family was watching at home and bringing that tradition together. I was actually got the opportunity to meet Mr. Penske last year in the elevator, and he thanked me for helping carry on the tradition. I was so humbled. I'm like, a dairy farmer from Indiana is being thanked by Mr. Penske. I was like, oh my goodness. But it was just amazing. And I'm really excited to be a part of it again.
Yep. Another amazing thing that you guys get to be a part of is the fastest rookie luncheon. And Tim, I know that you said last year, as cool as it would have been to hand the winner, the milk in Victory Circle to the winner, you were just thrilled to be on stage with Query and Schultz and to have that opportunity and live that for a day.
Yeah, I mean, to meet these guys and to realize too that they're a lot like our dairy families. We have a lot in common. We're both striving to do the best we can, and us producing milk, them winning a race. The technology that we both use anymore, to try to do a better job. I mean, there's just so many things alike between the racing crews and ours, and their family too. I mean, that's the exciting thing. So.
Yeah, Tim, that's great. I forgot about that. So I just learned that the gasoline on the track is working on being more sustainable, and dairy farmers continuously are finding ways to be sustainable. Like, we make electricity on our farm with manure, and to be able to connect all of that and bring it into the winner's circle is amazing. Thanks for the reminder, Tim.
Yeah.
We should do a whole segment on making electricity out of poo.
Yeah, we can.
That's good. Thanks, Derek. Okay. That's good.
I'm fascinated by that personally. That's great.
I'll bet you are, Derek.
Well,
We've actually been segueing things from manure for 10 years, Derek.
That's right. We've got our own milk to give away coming up in the next segment of the show, Jake, with our American Dairy Association Indiana Winners Drink Milk. But of course, Jill and Tim will be handing the real stuff to the winner in Victory Circle and going to be part of the fastest rookie luncheon. And the great folks at the American Dairy Association in Indiana for bringing this all together. And they've been great supporters of the show. And I know great supporters of you guys and your farms there at Homestead and Superior. Can't wait to see you next week. Can't wait for a normal month of May and a normal Indy 500. Thanks so much, Jill and Tim, for coming on the show with us today.
Thank you so much. And remember, winners drink milk.
Yeah, winners drink milk.
We're going to pick our winners next, Jake. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Square and Schultz, stick around. ISC Sports Network.
Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching, barn needs cleaning, tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Welcome back. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Tim. I'm happy to be out of the coat closet. I'm happy because it means now I get to myself drink some of the ice cold milk, just like Takuma Sato did that we talked about, and we will see what driver. I think, Derek, having not seen a car on practice yet, my pick this year is Graham Rahal.
Wow.
I don't know if I'd say it's a sleeper pick, but that's my pick. Joseph Newgarden's hard to bet against, but
yeah, I did that with Will Power for many years. I picked Will Power over and over and over again because I said to myself, Will Power is too good of a driver to not eventually win this race.
Right.
And of course, he eventually won it the year that I didn't pick him. So I think I'm going to start doing that with Newgarden. Because Newgarden someday, not that you have to win this race to be validated. Michael Andretti was an incredible driver who never won this race, and there were others. But yeah, Newgarden would be high on my list. I'm not ready to lock into that yet. Our Winners Drink Milk winner of the week is brought to you by the American Dairy Association Indiana, winnersdrinkmilk.com. I have those milk facts somewhere in here.
Yeah, where are your milk facts? I'm drinking the chocolate milk, which is fabulous after
a
workout.
1 8-ounce serving of low-fat chocolate milk, which Jake has as much calcium as 10 cups of raw spinach, as much potassium as a banana, and as much vitamin A as 2 boiled eggs. It's the best workout drink that there is, chocolate milk. After I throw my ish around at the JCC, chocolate milk. Always.
Okay. Who is your Winners Drink Milk winner of the week?
I actually did this as a group because I hadn't thought about this until I forget who even mentioned it, like Zach Lowe or somebody like that. And again, of things that make me feel old. I understand that Moses Malone and Sean Kemp, there were other guys who didn't play college basketball who ended up going into the NBA and being star players. Moses Malone's an all-time great, God rest his soul. But really the first group of guys to make that a thing were Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant, right? Kevin Garnett in the 95 class, and then Kobe in 96, which also included J.O. and a couple of other guys who hopped straight from high school. And to see, obviously, posthumously for Kobe, but KG and he get their hall call, I just thought it was pretty cool. And validation for their decision. Because remember, back then, people were really uncomfortable with the thought that, what are these kids doing? High school? They're not ready for this.
Right.
And yet, of course, Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant were special enough to be ready for that right away because they're transcendent level players.
The problem is, Derek, back then, for every one of those guys, you had
Corleone Young and,
Indy Ebby and Leon
Martell
Smith
Webster. And there have been a lot of guys that flopped doing that going straight from high school. But those two guys were straight to pros guys who made an impact immediately. So, I was never a big Kevin Garnett fan as a player. I hated him as a player, but man, he was a heck of a player and a heck of a competitor.
I figured you were going to say Rinus VeeKay because we drank milk with him last year.
I just don't want to pick the IndyCar race winner every week.
Right.
You know, I feel like
I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go IndyCar, but not a race winner.
Okay.
The IndyCar Grand Prix, which was a big event, and I had the pleasure, I guess, very peripherally, of meeting Romain Grosjean to begin the season. He came over from Formula One. He was involved in a horrific accident in Formula One before coming over to IndyCar. And he has, since coming to IndyCar, Romain Grosjean has been a gentleman. He has been very humble and down to earth about learning the new sport and driving for Dale Coyne. And to start on pole for the IndyCar Grand Prix and then finish with a podium and showing excitement about it. You know, instead of being like, well, I'm supposed to, this is why I'm here. You know, he was genuinely excited about finishing second and having a good race. Interesting story, Derek, because you had asked earlier where he's from. He is listed as a French citizen, Romain Grosjean, and he's listed like in Formula One, it was Romain Grosjean of France. And so I asked him, I said, you know, hey, I actually, one of the first places I've gone across the ocean was I went to Paris. And he said, yeah, I've actually never lived in France. Well, I thought you're French. Well, his mother is French. But his mother met his father in Switzerland, and they moved to Geneva. And when she gave birth to Romain, she had the option of selecting him to either be, instead of renouncing her own citizenship, she had the option to appoint French citizenship to someone she gave birth to. So she selected that. So he is of French citizenship, but born and raised in Switzerland.
Wow. And obviously he's been, because he was F1, he's been all over the world.
Yeah.
But he's never actually lived. He's never had a residence in France. Wow.
Correct. 1.1 million Twitter followers.
Yeah. All those guys. I mean, those F1 guys are rock stars.
Well, you got to figure F1, you know, like an IndyCar driver, a popular IndyCar driver, they're racing strictly in the United States. Mm-hmm. A popular Formula One driver is racing in 15 different countries.
Yeah.
And they're being exposed to people from all over the world.
And it's the, you know, I'm not saying this, you know, I know it's month of May and we're excited about the Indy 500. This isn't a knock on the Indy 500 or IndyCar, but, you know, it's by far the most popular motorsports circuit in the world. It's not even close.
Romain Grosjean as well as Kevin Garnett.
And Kobe. R.I.P. to Kobe. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, Tamika Catchings also got her Hall call.
Greatest professional athlete to spend their entire career in Indianapolis.
Well, yeah, you kind of ruined it for me there. But what I was going to say was, and I know, Jake, that you have what's been deemed a controversial opinion about Tamika. Can you go ahead and share that with our audience?
She is the greatest professional athlete to play the totality of her career in Indianapolis.
I think the way that you can make that argument is the fact that Peyton Manning, some of what Peyton Manning did in his pro career was not here. Whereas everything that Tamika Catchings did was while she was representing the Indiana Fever.
Correct.
The 4 Olympic gold medals. God, I don't even know. I listed it all out here. 12-time All-WNBA, 7-time first team, 5-time league DPOY, 12-time All-Defense, obviously a WNBA champion. She was a finals MVP that year. What year was that? 12 that they won? 12 or 13? I think it was 12.
That sounds right.
They went a couple of times. They went in 2009 and lost to Phoenix and Diana Taurasi, and then they went back and lost to Minnesota a couple years after that with Stephanie White. I'm really hopeful that she's successful now as an executive with the Fever because it would really add to her legacy here.
Right.
But I love it that she's made this her home.
She is, you know, basketball selected me is what she said. I mean, she is, you know, she is to women's basketball in Indiana from a professional standpoint what like Slick Leonard was. And I realize Slick played for IU, but, you know, every step of the way, I mean, she has been unbelievable, no question.
People are asking, well, you know, what would be like her – we know she's one of the best ever playing women's basketball. What would be like her NBA equivalent? And it would be the top of the top. I mean, it would be like, you know, to me that
Kobe Bryant?
That top tier would be Jordan, Kareem, Russell, LeBron, Wilt. I think somewhere in there, and she's, you know, pick one of those names
Correct.
if you want to, and she's right up there. I mean, easily one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, I mean, the women's game's a little bit different because there's not the definitive, no question about it, greatest player of all time, right? I mean,
and I think
Cheryl Miller,
I think for Tamika too was that she was so, not that she was a great offensive player too. She was a defense savants. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's probably the greatest defender in women's basketball history. And I think that, that's a little bit different. It's harder when you're talking about like the steals champion as opposed to the scoring champion. She's not as flashy as Cheryl Swoops, Diana Taurasi, and some of these other players like that.
She just, when she was in between those lines, man, the competitive nature, the skill set, all encompassing. So, and just a great ambassador for the sport and for the city.
And great representative of our city as well.
No question about it.
Another guy that is angling for an award, not the Hall of Fame, but an individual award, and somebody representing him sent me a care package. They thought to themselves, hey, it was Mountain Dew in this case. How do we get the word out for Miles Turner and DPOY? Who do we talk to in Indianapolis? So they talked to the right person.
Okay.
I want to come back with that because I have a bunch of swag that's over here that's offset.
Did they?
And we'll bring that on set and talk about it.
Ask them which of the two of us consumes the most
Look at
of
that.
their product?
Yeah. Well, you can bring that back up, but I'm going to get the swag here. Actually, swag stands for stuff we all get. I'm not aware of anybody else getting this stuff. I think I got it because they wanted me to be the ambassador of this.
When it first came out.
We'll come back, talk a little Miles Turner. Also, Bider Bowl Bleep and Love That Play. Still to come, Query and Schultz, ISC.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Welcome back to the program where during the break, Derek decided to be really mature and begin playing with Legos.
Well, this is not just Legos, they're blocks for Block City.
Okay.
Indianapolis was named Block City over the weekend with Joe Hogsett and our mayor because of Miles Turner.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they?
You didn't see this? I guess you were at the track all day.
Miles Turner should live in the Block building, right?
What's the Block building?
William H. Block department store. William H. Block is where, imagine this in today's day and age. In 1937, Lucille Quinn, who worked at the William H. Block building, was taking too long on her lunch breaks. And Charles Hertenstein, who was her supervisor, called her in and said, you're taking too long on your lunch breaks. She was one of the makeup counter girls or whatever, big department store.
Okay.
And said, you're taking too long on your lunch break, so I'm going to have to write you up unless you go to lunch tomorrow with me. So they went to lunch together, and they ended up getting married, and they had 2 daughters, and one of them was my mom, and they were married for 52 years. Imagine that happening today. But the Block building where the department store was is now apartments and condos, and that's where Miles Turner should live.
Oh, now I feel bad for rushing you because it was a story about your mom, and your mom's great.
My grandparents.
Hi, Karen, if you're watching.
That's Mrs. Query.
Oh, sorry.
My dad.
Lloyd got mad at me. Mr. Query, sorry, in case he's watching.
Mike Hillary, we're 28 years old. Mike Hillary sees my dad and says, hey, Lloyd. My dad goes, that's Mr. Query until I tell you otherwise. And he just bought 3 more years.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, Mountain Dew wanted their partners with Miles Turner. They wanted to find somebody extremely influential in Indianapolis. Hey, who is the guy in that city that can really get this campaign going for us. So they thought to
Was
themselves,
that Mackenzie Roth unavailable?
Derek Schultz. And so they sent all of this to Schultz Media LLC, my little UPS mailbox. Oh, sorry. I lost one of the legs to Lego Miles Turner. It's actually his right leg, which I think he's having the toe issue with. So maybe fitting there, but I'm sorry that he's not
his leg.
Well, my son, who's 4 years old, was playing with it, and he plays with the blocks in Block City, and I think he misplaced the leg. But I wanted to put this up here because this is really cool, Jake. This campaign.
I'm not saying it's not, but you lost the guy's leg. What is it?
And look,
are you sure that's not Lego Victor Oladipo?
Miles Turner on the can of Mountain Dew. If you go to Miles Turner for DPOY.com, you could sign the petition for Miles Turner to be the Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA. They're making a big push for this. And Miles is deserving. I mean, he's clearly the blocks leader.
Give
even
me a block.
playing
There's got to be a leg.
fewer
I'm going to do
games.
surgery. Can we get a leg on him?
And he's really raised the level of his defensive game. We already knew that Miles Turner was a good defender.
Can you open that?
He's become an elite shot blocker. So I'm glad that Miles Turner and Mountain Dew have teamed up to do this together.
Are there no more legs in here?
No, his legs are separate from these. These are like in Mountain Dew colors, which are pretty cool. I mean, we've made little cities out of these as well. I had to take apart one of the cities.
Give me another one of the.
Yeah, you're gonna build something here.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the poor guy a leg.
So I wanted to thank our friends at Mountain Dew for going ahead and putting this together specifically for me. And I told them, I promised them to talk about it on the show because I want to make a big push for this because Miles is a great dude and another kind of like Tamika Catchings, a great representative of our city.
He is. Hang on, he needs a leg, don't you think? Here,
You got it.
He's just hanging to the side.
All right.
Yeah, see.
Bit of a prosthesis there from Block City. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I got him a prosthetic, right?
This portion of the show brought to you by
I was
our
like
friends.
Richard Kimball. I found the prosthetic part of the hospital and went in and.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was creepy. At Chateau Kitchens and Home Remodeling, the premier provider of residential cabinetry and home remodeling services in the Indianapolis area. They have an office up in Carmel. If you want to check that out, it's a beautiful showroom. You can see some of the before and after pictures. You can also go on their Instagram at Chateau Kitchens. Also on Facebook, same thing. Chateau Kitchens. Just search that, and you could follow them and see some of these transformations that they make.
I think the biggest thing about them was Chateau Kitchens, Derek, because I remember you telling me about this when you were getting the work done on your house. There's a trust that comes with having people in your home, right? And so when you had them in your home, it wasn't an issue for you. I mean, you know what I mean? Like after a while, it was like you were like sad when they were done, even though they didn't take long to do your kitchen because they were in there. But man, that's a huge thing to have people you trust.
Well, we had people that helped us every step of the way from the ground floor with Victoria, who was the designer who did an unbelievable job of kind of putting our ideas into place and putting her own stamp on it as well.
And you're high
something
maintenance
that we
for
love.
that stuff.
No, I don't think we're high maintenance about that.
Okay.
And then Ryan was our project manager, and at the point where it was about I think a 6-week project, which is quick. I mean, it was an aggressive kitchen renovation, and at the end of it, the crew's finishing up, and he goes, "Hey guys, wait a minute here. I don't like this spot in the floor. Can we buff this out a little bit?" So they came back in and they buffed out the floors. I didn't even notice it.
Right.
But it wasn't up to his standard. And that's the kind of service that you get with
cool.
Chateau Kitchens. Yeah, chateaukitchens.com as well if you want to check them out online. East Carmel Drive for their showroom.
We got to get to Biter Bullschultz next.
So we got to do Love That Play.
And Love That Play.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're actually going to do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought that I explained this.
Love That Play, by the way, is brought to you each and every week by the great guys at Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Look, they've been around for over 100 years now, has Love Heating and Air Conditioning, love-hvac.com, 317-353-2141. Look, we're at that time right now where you want to make sure that air conditioning is going. You don't want it going out when it's 105 degrees outside with a heat index. But 24-hour on-call maintenance, that's one of the great things about Love Heating and Air Conditioning. But honest, guys, I've known them my whole life, folks. I grew up with them. I've known the family for years. Not all 100 years worth of their family, but I've known a great part of them. 4 generations deep, you last that long by quality of product, integrity, knowledge of the product, and great prices. Everything you get with Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Derek, your nominee is?
This isn't really a play as much as it is a moment, but did you see the post-game interview from the Reds game where Nick Castellanos homered and then he brought a fan on to give the interview? And Jim Day, who we've had on our radio show before with Reds TV Live, asked him, hey, so, what was kind of going through your head or whatever he asked him for the home run? And Nick let the fan answer, and the fan goes, well, Nick was just picturing Rob Manfred's face on the baseball, so he wanted to crush it out of the, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, and Castellanos is just standing there like, yeah, and he didn't actually say anything. I haven't seen any punishment for that, but it would be hilarious if technically he didn't say it, a fan said it.
You're right.
So can you fine him or suspend him for something that somebody else said?
Do you think he fed him the line?
No, because Reds fans were really upset with the, if you guys don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I don't remember specifically when this was, Castellanos scored and slid into home and kind of give like a yeah or something like that. And there were some words exchanged, and he actually got suspended for it. And people were like, what? Suspend him for what? Like, you got to, let these guys show a little bit of emotion. And I think it kind of stems from that.
What if the fan would have actually just pulled the Tom Brenneman line?
Oh, God. Yeah.
And I don't know if I'll put this headset on again. And there's a fly ball to center field. Wasn't it
Castellanos hit that home run? Yeah.
It makes it a 4-0 ball game.
It's that whole situation was really unfortunate.
It was.
That's all that I'll say about that. Because I told many, many people over the years that the nicest person that I ever met in broadcasting was Tom Brenneman. And then, people sometimes.
He was very nice to us.
Unfortunately,
And his dad's a great guy.
You don't know what's in somebody's heart and all that.
Dad's
And at the same time, people do make mistakes. And I'm not saying that he needs to be crucified forever for it. But clearly something that should not be in your brain or heart.
He owned up to it. I'll give him that. By the way, I'm always a fan anytime for Love That Play when we can incorporate the Cincinnati Redlegs, who starting in June are going to go back to 100% capacity in terms of the fan allotment for games, although it has been nearly 31 years since they probably have seen 100% capacity.
Are the Loves fans, by the way? Are they Reds fans?
Chris and John Love, who played with me, Love Heating and Air Conditioning, was the sponsor of our 1985-86 Red Sox in Allisonville Little League.
I don't need the whole background here. That's kind of like a yes or no question. Yes, they are Reds fans, or no, they're not Reds fans. I don't need to hear well, actually, in 1981,
I can tell you more if you'd like.
So is that? Well, I don't want more. I just want to know. Yes, they're Reds fans, or no, they're not Reds fans.
Yankees fans.
Okay. Well, I knew that. I did know that. Chris.
Then why'd you ask?
Fan. Yeah. John's a Yankees fan too.
Well, Chris and John both. Their mother is from Evansville, and so Don Mattingly. So they became Yankees fans.
Then Chris married a Jersey girl, right?
Correct.
So
Chris is married to a girl from New York.
That was a Yankees tie-in.
John isn't as big a baseball fan as Chris.
Okay.
But if you're Reds fans, they will be Reds fans for you if it means that's what it's going to take to get Love Heating and Air Conditioning to come out to your home.
It's the problem, yes. You ask Corey a question, you got to carve out about 15 minutes, especially when it's about Eastwood Middle School or whatever else.
The best. Home of the Eagles. 86 and 87 undefeated 7th and 8th grade football seasons. Tied Noblesville twice. Should we count undefeated seasons if there were 2 ties?
Going to wrap up the show next with
6-0-1 in 7th grade, 7-0-1 in 8th grade.
I promise, 5 or 6 minutes.
Beat Westland 47-3.
That's all we have left. Jordan's already rolling.
Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching, barn needs cleaning, tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
It's here. The moment that will define you. So think of this moment as your moment. The one you've been waiting for. You were built for it. And so were we. WGU, the online university where ambition never rests.
Back for a final time. It's Corey and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network. Thanks so much for checking us out, not only on ISC, maybe ISCSportsNetwork.com. Maybe you're watching us through the Twitter or Facebook streams at ISC Sportsnet or ISC Sports Network's Facebook page or the Corey and Schultz Facebook page. Perhaps you're watching an archive version on YouTube, which posts on Thursday morning, youtube.com/Corey and Schultz. Maybe you're listening via podcast, so you can't see us at all.
Okay, that's probably the most popular form.
Mm-hmm. iTunes, Google, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeart, Omni FM. What's the one that Emmis uses? It's like Omni FM something.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we're on that thing too.
Okay.
I think. I should double check on that before I broadcast it out.
Did the iHeart folks, are we on that?
Yeah.
Have they found that out yet?
No, they don't care.
Do they know? Are they aware?
They cut like thousands of people.
They don't even
They're
know
not
who we
keeping
are.
track on two middle market, AM radio co-hosts from a year and a half ago. Final portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Bailey.
Yeah,
and
it is
Wood
true that when you
Financial
said
Group.
iHeart, there's a couple of guys that you laid off. They have to say, can you be more specific?
Yeah, for sure. In all markets. 5-star customer service is what you get with Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Just take the first letter out of Bailey and Wood Financial Group, and that's their website, BAWFG.com, or you could call 855-350-HOME. Mike Wood and his folks are the best in the business. 13 Indiana branches. Get pre-approved. Refi, if you want to do that. I mean, rates are still, I think, in some cases closing in the 2s or at least the low 3s. They've bounced back a little bit. But refinancing through Bailey and Wood is a great idea as well. Save yourself a couple $100 per month.
Keeping it local
on your mortgage payment.
Keeping it state.
For sure.
State local.
Yep.
Okay.
Bite or Bowl Bleep time, brought to you by our friends at the shop, and we've got some new shirts out here.
The shop at Broaderpool Avenue, 920 Broaderpool Avenue, right next to Union Jack, and in addition to that, in Clay Terrace or theshopindy.com. The finest quality in terms of T-shirts of a nostalgic value throughout pop culture in Indiana, and most notably for the month of May, their wide variety. For example, is it May yet? Yes, it is. Race time is here, and they've got 1,000 different shirts at the shop. The shop. Indy.
Yeah, try not to hurt the microphone there. Keep bumping into that. Yeah, but no, hurt it. You bumped into it a couple times. Here's what we do. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we buy it or it's Bowl Bleep. Ready for statement 1? The NBA play-in is actually a good idea.
When I do it this way,
Buy it
how
or Bowl
fat
Bleep?
does that make me look?
No, we're not going to do this again. We wasted at least 20 minutes on that in the last episode. I'm not doing that again.
People told me I look
The
fat.
NBA play-in is actually a good idea.
I had somebody say to me, I saw someone at the yard or in the Pagoda Plaza, and I said, these beta blockers are making it difficult for me. And they said, oh, I was going to ask what that is.
Nobody said that to you. Nobody thinks that you've gained weight.
Said. Well, I have.
No, you're like 50 years old.
What was your first question?
That size. The NBA play-in is
48.
actually a good idea. Buy it or Bowl Bleep.
For this year, I'm actually going to say buy it because it's kind of exciting.
I've come around on it.
It's kind of fun.
What I don't like, Jake, I don't like expanding the playoff field. So I don't like including more teams. But because you've got this quirky Warriors-Celtics thing, or excuse me, Warriors-Lakers thing, the Celtics are in it on the other side.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it was all, no offense to the Pacers, if it was all Hornets-Pacers,
Wizards, Wizards Magic.
Okay, great. I'm definitely interested to watch this. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't really do anything for me.
It doesn't wet your whistle as much if it's Kings and Wolves.
No. And so I actually kind of like that idea, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just getting excited about having a somewhat normal NBA playoff. So buy it. I think it actually is a good idea. We'll agree there. Statement 2. This is one of my go-tos every May. We'll have a first-time winner of the Indianapolis 500 this year. Buy it or Bowl Bleep?
I will buy it because I have said earlier that right now, without having seen practice and what everybody's going to do and everything else, if I had to put my money on it, I would say my initial thought is that Graham Rahal or Joseph Newgarden are going to win it.
Well, let's do it out here. So if we're taking the winners of the field, the winners that are in the race would be Sato, Dixon.
You got 9 of them.
Hunter
assuming
Ray,
everybody qualifies.
Power.
Hold on. Go start over again.
Sato.
Yep.
Dixon.
Yep.
Hunter Ray.
Yep.
Power.
Yep.
Why am I spacing on more names here? Simon Pagino.
Yep.
Montoya isn't running,
Montoya?
is he? Oh, he is running? Okay. Sorry, I should probably know that.
You're missing 3.
No Weldon, no Kanan.
Kanan's
going to run? Okay.
Yeah, so you're missing 2.
Dario's not going to run.
He's not running. You're missing 2.
Elio,
you're missing 1.
give me the last one.
He won the 100th running of the 500.
Oh, my God. Can we get that in post? Let's just start. We'll start over again. 3, 2. Wait, I got to put my glasses on. 3, 2, 1. Obviously, Alexander Rossi is one of them, and then you've got Elio, TK. I mean, I'm not going to list out all 9 here. Obviously, I know all 9.
Do you?
So I don't have to prove that on the show.
Right. Okay.
So you're taking that group or the field?
Man,
it's really hard to not say. I mean, Dixon and Rossi. I mean, some of those guys don't really have much of a chance.
So much has been talked about with Scott Dixon over the years of like, he started on pole and this is the guy, this is the guy. This would be the year where he slips in and wins his second.
Yeah. It really, really felt like he was going to win it. August feels strangely like it was like a surreal, like non-Indy 500.
He was on the move, man.
Yeah.
And we'll never know about Sato's fuel, but that would have been close.
I guess I'll say I'm leaning towards picking Newgarden, so I guess I have to buy this. But it's the definition of a coin flip, right? Past winner of the field.
Derek, our friend Joe, who is the GM at Meridian Restaurant right there on Meridian, he asked me a good one yesterday. He sent this to me, and he said, "Here's a good one for your Beider Bull Schultz." And I said, "Okay." And he said, the phrase "a new track record," it's a new track record, will never again be said at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Beider Bull Schultz.
Buy it, because the safety measures will never let speed get to that point.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. That's what I said. I think they have a number. I think they know that until they can figure out something, technologically speaking, that number is the ceiling where they simply.
And look,
from a safety standpoint,
they've done a great job safety-wise, but in the mid-'90s, we tiptoed up to the line, and I think it was pretty clear where the line was, and we decided, you know what, we're going to actually tiptoe. We're going to take 2 more steps back and then understand that that's the line there. And I think, I think people are fine with Arie Luyendyk being the all-time fastest, whereas if it was, Greg Ray or something, you know what I mean? It'd be like, no offense to Greg Ray, but come on.
No, you're right. Luyendyk's a pretty cool one to have owning that title.
Got a 2-time winner doing it. Final one here. This is random, but this movie celebrated their 25-year anniversary, and I'm shocked how many people got angry at me for saying that it was a bad movie. Twister is a good movie. Buy it or bull bleep.
Yeah. It's a good movie in the same way that Saved by the Bell is a good TV show.
I don't understand. I'm not following.
Saved by the Bell is awful.
Awfully transcendent?
Saved by the Bell is only popular because it is so horrifically cheesy that people enjoy it because it gives them an uncomfortable feeling in watching it because they're embarrassed for everyone involved.
That is not my personal experience with Saved by the Bell at all. I've never disagreed with you more on this show. We've been together for almost 10 years. Never, ever disagreed with you more.
Okay.
Like, I'm personally insulted by that summation of Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know that we were going to open up the door here on this, but that you could not possibly be more wrong.
Give me one redeeming quality of actual value of Saved by the Bell.
The script writing was amazing. I mean, it was unbelievable. The dialogue between the characters was fantastic. It gave you a glimpse into that era of moving from the 1980s into the 1990s.
Were you trapped in suspense and concern over whether or not the one gal was, when she was hooked on the
Jesse Spano?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
It dealt with, I mean, that's actually a great example because that's one of their best episodes. Now, Jesse Spano has the Hot Sunday music video and a final exam, and she's trying to do both. Right? Because she's trying to get into a good school. And it's the pressures and the issues that normal American teens face.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that, like, you think that that's, like, cheesy or not cool. Like, addiction and time management are real things.
It was so masterfully acted that it landed her right there smack in the middle of Showgirls. And then... Who knows? Now, if I'm not mistaken, she's running around Costco with Ricky Schroeder, I think.
To be fair, she was the lead in Showgirls. So that's not easy to do, to be the lead character.
Yeah, she looked good.
That's another movie that I thought had excellent dialogue. And Mario Lopez has become a pop culture icon.
He is big.
Dustin Diamond, R.I.P., had a good run of relevance there.
Good run of relevance that came with his own personal adult films.
Look, he was relevant.
Living in Wisconsin in a trailer.
Relevant.
Okay.
He was relevant.
Okay.
Lisa Turtle kind of went a little berserko.
Yeah.
I'll give you that one.
How
but
about
the rest of them,
Zach Morris?
Yeah, Mark Paul Gossier. He did didn't he do like Law and Order or something for a while?
He too every year shows up in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game.
Who am I missing out of that group? Oh, God. How could I miss her?
Mr. Belding?
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Okay, well, that's, yeah.
Beautiful.
Hey, what is going on
She
here?
is the Julia Louis-Dreyfus of her generation, where they just age like fine wine. Just
Tiffany
beautiful.
Amber Thiessen's an attractive
Gorgeous
woman.
Yes. I've never coveted the 1989 Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck rookie card and Kelly Kapowski, the two things that I've coveted the most in my life.
Okay.
And stardom, but I've already attained that.
Okay, sure.
Thanks to all of our sponsors, the shop, theshopindy.com.
Who I'm sure are thrilled off that
Clay
segue
Terrace
to be involved
and the
in this
Strip and Broad
program.
Ripple. Love HVAC, 353-2141. Love HVAC, HVAC.com. Chateau Kitchens, follow them on Instagram, Chateau Kitchens.
Did you mention the American Dairy Association?
American Dairy Association, Indiana. Winners drink milk.
Jill
Bailey
and
and Wood, 855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com. Am I missing anybody? Oh, WGU Indiana as well.
Yeah.
Thanks to them, too.
Ambition never rests.
That's right.
Right.
Thanks, everybody, for being involved in the show. We'll see you later. Bye.